Good morning, good morning, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of the internet. Happy Friday to you. Welcome to another episode of Grow. We are doing our daily checkup from the neck up. Kyle Evans coming to you, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Maps coach, bold coach, all the things ready to pour into you today. We are going to enjoy this Friday. We're going to have a little fun today. And, if you're not having fun with it, maybe I'm not your cup of tea, but that's okay because I'm somebody's bowl of gumbo. Guys, today we're going to take a little ride on the nostalgia train, a little ride back to the wisdom from our childhood. And when I say our childhood, I mean my childhood because we may not be the same age. So don't worry, buckle up because some of the deepest wisdom that I know of, that I have in my repertoire, doesn't necessarily come from philosophy books, doesn't necessarily come from business conferences or a webinar or some class I took. It honestly comes from sitting on a carpet with a bowl of cereal, watching Saturday morning cartoons. Now, I know it's Friday morning, but I'm going to ask you to pretend a little bit that it's Saturday morning because as kids, a lot of times we didn't realize it then, but the stories, the characters, the one-liners shaped us. How we saw courage, how we saw resilience, friendship, leadership, struggle, grit. Guys, we were learning grit from Goku before we even knew what grit was. We were learning things like persistence from Dory, just keep swimming, right? Before we even had to grind out for a paycheck. We were learning things like identity from the Lion King before we even knew what legacy was. That's the crazy part. While there were adults telling us to pay attention in school, the real life lessons, boys and girls, they are often broadcasted between toy commercials. Today, I want to revisit some of those quotes, some of those absolute bangers, some of those wisdom nuggets like Chick-fil-A dropping on you today, and show you how they might still be relevant for the life that you're actually building right now. Let's start with the House of the Mouse, ladies and gentlemen. Disney, love them or hate them, there's some wisdom nuggets there. There's some truth bombs. Disney was kind of sneaky with this. It wasn't just entertainment. If you look close enough, a lot of times there was some philosophy disguised as animation. Let's start with one of the most popular ones of all time, The Lion King. There's a quote in there that still stands the test of time, even as an adult. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. When Mufasa says this to Simba, it's not just a father talking to a kid. Guys, it was a call to identity. One of the things that I think people struggle with the most now. In life, in business, we drift. We get lost in the sauce. We start keeping up with the Joneses. We start just doing things for likes. We forget our why. We forget the reminder is when you're lost, sometimes you just got to go back to who you are at your core. If you feel anxiety or symptoms of depression or a misalignment, it's probably because you're doing things that aren't resonating with who you are. Remember who you are. Mulan, warrior princess. She has a great quote. The flower that blooms in adversity is the most rare and beautiful of all. The flower that blooms in adversity is the most rare and beautiful of all. That's not just about Mulan's courage. It's about all of us. Guys, when you face hardship, when you face resistance, rejection, are you blooming in that? Because adversity doesn't mean you're broken. Adversity doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It means you might be just for being refined into something rare. It has never been easier, ever, to be successful because the competition doesn't know how to handle adversity these days. People are soft. The flower that blooms in adversity is the most rare and beautiful of all, now more than ever. What about Finding Nemo? Just keep swimming. It sounds simple, it sounds silly, but how many of us needed that when a business deal falls apart, when the market's tanking, when your dream feels dead? Keep moving, stay consistent, chop wood, carry water, do the things that you're supposed to do. Keep swimming. Motion beats despair. Motion beats despair. Are you still swimming? Just keep going. Aladdin, another Disney banger. You're not worthless. You're braver than you believe. You're not worthless. You're braver than you believe. The genie is reminding Aladdin that value doesn't come from titles or status. You don't got to be Prince Ali. You got to be Aladdin. Comes from the heart. Entrepreneurs, parents, leaders, guys, we all need to be reminded more often than not that our worth isn't tied up into external things, it's internal. I say this all the time, man. On your deathbed, you're not going to be like, it's time. Bring me my stuff. Does it matter then? You're going to say, bring me my people. Because your value isn't tied into external things. It's who you are. Disney had a way of smuggling these timeless truths into our hearts, into our minds. Some of this stuff still sticks with us today, or sometimes we're not paying attention to the foundational lessons. Moving from Disney, let's go to anime. Little Dragon Ball Z. I'm going to let my nerd show here. That stuff will teach you about grit. That stuff will teach you about perseverance. That stuff will teach you about pushing your limits. Let's go to one of the GOATs, Goku, Dragon Ball Z. He's always looking for stronger opponents. He was always looking for stronger opponents. But here's the thing, it wasn't about ego. It was never about, hey, I want to be the best so people can look up and glorify me. It was always about growth. He wanted to keep leveling up. He wanted to see how good he could be. The obstacle isn't your enemy. The obstacle is your teacher. The obstacle is your test. The obstacle is your opportunity to show who you are and what you are truly capable of. What about Goku's cohort, Vegeta? Pride, rivalry, eventually redemption. My son's on the Dragon Ball Z kick right now, and he gets to ask, is Vegeta always going to be a bad guy? I'm like, no, son, he's not. Because we get to choose the character that we play. It doesn't matter if you've walked down the wrong road. You can always turn around. You can always write a new story. Vegeta taught us that humility is learned the hard way, and that your ego may drive you, but your willingness to change, ladies and gentlemen, is what can actually save you. Put the pride down. Naruto. God, Naruto, what an absolute banger. He says, more often than not, I never go back on my word. That's my ninja way. That's my truth. That's my North Star. I never go back on my word. I don't break the promises, essentially, that I make myself. Loyalty, perseverance, keeping promises, even when the world doubts you, especially when the world doubts you, especially when it gets hard, especially when it's bleak and dark and the storms are rolling in. Are you going to keep your word? Are you going to keep the promise that you made yourself, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, looking right now in your life? Are you going to keep the promises that you make yourself? One Piece, getting a lot of fame these days. Monkey D. Luffy, He taught us the value of chasing dreams so big that it's ridiculous. I'm going to be the king of the pirates, he would say. And everyone would laugh, and everyone doubts him, and everyone just talks smack and tries to limit him. But he assembles a crew of just some real people, and his crew ends up rallying behind him because conviction is contagious. Are you convicted as a leader, a spouse, a friend, a family member, an entrepreneur? Is your conviction so strong that it's contagious? Because I know one thing, man, when you get convicted and you are all in, the universe conspires in your favor. It starts to send people who can support you, who can join you, but you got to look for them. Anime is not just cartoons, it's foundational principles that you could live your life on. It's courage on steroids. It's teaching us as kids how to stand back up after every knockout, after every knockdown, after every trial and tribulation says, hey, it's me. I'm still here. I'm still swinging. I'm still fighting. And I'm going for that thing that I promised myself I could be. I know that I am deep down inside. Some of you are walking in anxiety and symptoms of depression because there is a misalignment. You're not playing the role that you're supposed to play. And that causes friction and sadness in the feeling of being lost. You need to start playing the person that you're supposed to be. It's not just cartoons I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about real life stuff that was there all along for us. Let's not forget about the Saturday morning lineup, the cartoons that slipped life lessons in between pizza jokes. How about this banger? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Four brothers, all different personalities. The lesson: teams work best when everyone brings their unique strengths to the table. Leadership isn't about cloning, it's about uniting. It's about pulling the very best out of people and letting them do their thing. A lot of CEOs, a lot of leaders get this wrong nowadays, is they trying to replicate themselves instead of going and finding people who are great at certain things and uniting them for a common mission. X-Men, story about mutants. Mutants who are what? Outcast. What are we learning from that, Kyle? What makes you different is exactly what makes you powerful. Let me say that again if you're not listening to me this morning on this Friday. What makes you different is exactly what makes you powerful. Ed Millett said it best: that which you think disqualifies you actually qualifies you. That hit kids who felt unseen. It still hits those kids who are just a little older, who feel misunderstood. That which you think disqualifies you actually qualifies you. What makes you different is exactly what makes you powerful. What about Transformers? Their line, more than meets the eye, wasn't just about robots in disguise, boys and girls. It was about people, opportunities. How often do we underestimate someone? How often do we underestimate us because we can't see the hidden potential inside? One of the reasons that I do this, one of the reasons that I coach, one of the reasons that I speak is because I know that each and every person out there is more than meets the eye. There's so much more in there. There's so much more potential. And I just know what you can do if you decide to look for yourself and actually see what's there. I'll leave you with this last cartoon. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. One of the greatest lines in all of animation history. With great power comes great responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. This line is so timeless, it's escaped cartoons and become cultural law. It's a reminder that if you're given influence, if you're given gifts, if you're given resources, if you're given talent, you're accountable for how you use it. Marcus Heflin, my partner, he always talks about, he loves my greatest fear, which is one day I'm going to die and God's going to show me two lives. He's going to say, look over here. This is the life that I had for you. These are the blessings. These are the impact. These are the people's lives that you could have changed, what you could have done, the good. I had that for you. This, though, is the life that you lived because you were lazy, because you were scared, because you didn't believe, because you didn't trust the things that you were capable of. With great power comes great responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you all have the power. You all have talents. You all have capabilities. You are all unique in your own way. I firmly and foundationally believe this. It's your responsibility to do something with it. These weren't just cartoons, they're classrooms. The wisdom that we binge now in books, in podcasts, seminars, we were already introduced to long ago before we knew the words leadership or growth mindset. It was packaged in talking lions, in robots, and mutant turtles, and spiky haired warriors who screamed their way into becoming legends. The question is for you, are you still living by those lessons? Or did you outgrow them? Did you forget them? Did they get buried in keeping up with the Joneses? Did they get buried in trying to fit in? Did they get buried in the mundane? Did they get buried in just doing the things that don't really matter? Did you outgrow them? Maybe, just maybe, the kid version of you inside had it right all along. So I'll leave you with this. What line, what quote, what moment from your childhood shaped you? And are you still honoring it today? Because sometimes, boys and girls, the wisdom that built you is still the wisdom that can carry you. You already know. I need you to go find it again. And I need you to bring it right back to the front of your brain and the front of your heart. Remember who you are. Happy Friday, boys and girls. I will see you bright and early Monday morning. Have a good one.